Hello and welcome back to this Library of Ruina series. In this video, we're going to be taking on the first member of the Blue Ensemble, Philip. But before I go over the fight itself, I'm going to give a brief talk about the format of these next 10 videos. These fights are split into groups where each page can only be used once, including all the passes you attributed to it. Because of that, I'm going to be giving you my recommendations for key pages, passives, and decks, as well as how high priority they are. The page lock resets after Netsack, Chesed, and Hakma, so you need to have 20, 15, and 10 pages respectively for each section. One final thing to note is that after beating a fight, you'll get their Ensemble key page, which brings the total pages needed down to 17, 13, and 9, which makes things a bit easier on you. Now without further ado, let's get into the guide proper. To start, key pages that I'd recommend using are Xiao, Mirne, and Yujin. Xiao is generally good, but very important in this fight because there's a lot of burn being inflicted onto your librarians, and Xiao has a burn negation passive. You also need to inflict burn onto enemies, which Xiao excels at. Mirne and Yujin aren't required for the fight, but are at their best on Malkuth's floor and not that great on other floors. The last two key pages I used were Lowell for flavor reasons and Esther as a generally strong page that I wouldn't miss on other floors. For decks, my Xiao and Esther had fairly standard singleton decks, but with a bit more focus on burn with fervent emotions and Suowen. Mirne had a clone augury kick deck featuring 3 augury kick, 3 clone, 2 will of the city, and a steel knuckles. Lowell had a deck to further support Mirne with copies of Confrontation for protection, Coordinate Assault for its plethora of buffs, and will of the city for sustain. My Yujin brought 3 clones, 3 rapid gashes, and 3 will of the city. Note that both my Lowell and Esther have a singleton copy of Afterimage. This fight has a lot of unavoidable burn, and since I don't want to use every copy of Keeping Stride and Health Hauler in the first fight, this will take the heat off a bit as it were. For passives, I slapped a ton of sustain onto Yujin, page draw and some random power booster onto Mirne, page draw and sustain onto Lowell, and burn enablers onto Esther and Xiao. Of course, every librarian should probably get at least one sustain passive, but I'm greedy and didn't have any on my Mirne. For Abnormality pages, your top priority should be getting Happy Memories onto your Mirne so she can cast as many augury kicks as possible. Your other tier 1 page doesn't matter too much, but Ashes is pretty good on your Xiao. For tier 2 pages, Gluttony goes onto Yujin as soon as you can unless she's already dead of course, in which we can keep stacking our Xiao. After that, Vines goes onto Xiao to heavily nerf Philip's speed. Hopefully the fight ends before reaching your tier 3 page, but all of them are pretty mediocre. For Ego pages, 4th match Flame is the most important, and then take 2 of Wingbeat, the Forgotten, or Green Stem. Wingbeat is if one of your librarians is dangerously low, the Forgotten is for being a couple pages we'll see later, and Green Stem is if you're greedy and think you can win without needing the other 2 pages. Now we can start talking about the fight itself. Philip has 550 HP, 160 stagger, is ineffective to all damage and stagger damage, and has 8 passives. Shimmering, Nuovo Fabric, which is shared on all Ensemble members and reduces damage and stagger damage by 1 to 2. Cooled Heart, which makes him take no damage from burn. Sword of Embers, which makes him apply 1 extra burn from combat pages. Tempered Passion gives power equal to half his emotion level rounded down, so +1 at Emo 2 and +2 at Emo 4. And additionally, whenever his emotion level rises, he inflicts 3 burn onto all characters. Overheat is one of the main mechanics for the fight. If Philip has 15 or more burn at the start of the scene, he becomes overheated, which makes all his stagger resistances fatal, but makes him deal 3 more damage with attacks. Searing Sword activates when Philip is overheated, inflicting 1 burn on hit and when getting hit. Crackling Heart is behavior for the fight, making his HP stay above 60% and changing phases after he becomes staggered, purging all status ailments and resetting his resistances. During this first phase, he'll be using 4 different pages. Waned Eventide rolls 3 to 10 evade, 4 to 8 block, 3 to 7 slash. The evade roll's pretty high, so you might want to clash into this one with a block on 1. Emotional Turbulence works really well for this. Conflicting Emotions rolls 4 to 7, 4 to 7 block, 3 to 8 slash, with the blocks inflicting 1 burn to self and on target on clash win. It also has a 3 to 8 block counter that inflicts 1 burn to self and target on clash win. This one is easier to beat than Waned Eventide, but is more important to beat. Coordinated Assault, 201, Emotional Turbulence, or even Will of the Prescript will be able to handle it though. Despairingly Stigmatized rolls 3 to 7, 3 to 7 Pierce, with each one giving 3 negative emotion coins on hit. The emotion coins will only matter in later scenes, and 3 to 7 is extremely easy to beat with pretty much anything that isn't a utility page. Searing Resolution rolls 4 to 8 slash, 4 to 8 Pierce, with the slash inflicting 2 burn on hit and the pierce inflicting 1. Additionally, it has a 3 to 6 block counter die. This page is also fairly easy to beat, rolling a tiny bit higher than Despairingly Stigmatize. Generally, this first phase is fairly simple, just clash with everything and free hit to try and get through it as fast as possible. You should be able to get through the phase within 3 scenes. After the transition, 4 Unspeaking children will spawn and Philip will lose Crackling Heart and gain 2 new passives. The first one is Vanished Mind, which makes him lose power equal to the number of defeated Unspeaking children. The other one is Sizzling Heart, which is identical to Crackling Heart except being 30% instead of 60%. The Unspeaking children have 60 HP, 40 stagger, are injured to all damage and stagger damage, and have 4 passives: Speed, Overheat, Torched Heart, which reduces the damage taken from burn by half and gives 1 strength and endurance each scene other than the first scene, and Combustion, which gives 3 fragile while overheated while inflicting 1 burn on hit and using a different set of combat pages. Honestly, it's pretty hard to get the Unspeaking children overheated as their HP pool is so low. In their normal state, they use 3 pages. Wing Stroke rolls 3 to 9 Evade, 4 to 8 Slash that inflicts 1 feeble next scene on hit. Once you get a bit of strength, this page is fairly easy to beat, but the Evade roll is a bit high, so considering use a page with a block or evade on 1 to clash into it. Murmur rolls 3 to 6 Block, 3 to 7 Slash, 3 to 5 Blunt. This page is very easy to beat with any 2 cost value page or 3 cost bomb. Victimize is our most threatening page, rolling 4 to 8 Blunt, 5 to 8 Evade, 6 to 9 Blunt. Additionally, the first Blunt inflicts 1 Disarm next scene on hit, and the second Blunt inflicts 1 Feeble next scene on hit. You're probably going to want to use a 3 cost bomb to beat this page, but with a bit of strength, your 2 Uns, Emotional Turbulences, Coordinated Assaults, and Rapid Gashes should easily beat it. Philip will also start using 4 new pages. Wound of Sorrow rolls 3 to 7, 4 to 8, 6 to 10 Pierce is a ranged page and has a 3 to 7 block counter die. Augury Kick works really well here as your Marinade probably already has at least 3 strength. Restrain rolls 3 to 9 Evade, 8 to 10 Pierce that inflicts 2 Feeble, Disarm, and binds next scene on hit. Additionally, it has a 4 to 7 block counter die that inflicts 1 burn to self and target on a clash win, and another 4 to 6 block counter die. This page is quite hard to outroll, but if you have Emotional Turbulence with some strength shared from Marinade, then you should be able to beat it. Alternatively, if you've taken the Forgotten, then you could use it here to completely wipe the page. Fierce Spirit is a counter-only page that has a 4 to 7 block counter that inflicts 1 burn to self and target on clash win, then 2 3 to 7 slash counters that inflict 1 burn on hit. Additionally, on combat start, next scene when inflicting burn with combat pages, Philip will inflict 2 more stacks, and he'll gain 2 strength next scene. The scene after using Fierce Spirit, he'll cast Combusting Courage, which rolls 5 to 9, 5 to 9, 4 to 8 slash, with all of them inflicting 1 burn to all characters if the target has 10 or more burn. Additionally, it has a 3 to 8 block counter die. This page is pretty hard to beat because Philip will have upwards of 5 extra power from Fierce Spirit, Tempered Passion, and enemy Abnormality pages, so the scene he uses Fierce Spirit, try to use at least 2 Augury Kicks to prepare for it, and use an Emotional Turbulence, Chill Win, or Coordinated Assault with 3 or more strength to beat it. Again, if you've taken the Forgotten, then this is a great time to use it. If you brought Raging Storm Love, then this phase is when you'd want to use it as his 4th Match Flame. If you pass this phase before you get access to 4th Match Flame, then I'd just skip it. Once you stagger Philip again, he'll once again purge all the status ailments, but his resistances will all become normal. He'll also use Sizzling Heart and gain a Blade Ablaze, which inflicts 1 burn on hit and when hit. At the start of this phase, he'll cast Scorching Desperation, which is a mass individual rolling 4 to 6, 8 to 14. While the 1 is very easy to beat, the 2 is quite difficult without some sort of strength stacking. Thankfully, since we have Marinade, it's quite likely that you'll have upwards of 12 strength spread between your non-Marinade members, which makes beating this page quite a bit more feasible. Other than that, it's just the same 8 pages as before. If you have anyone about to die due to burn or not being able to beat the mass attack, it might be smart to have them eat all the pages while you free hit with everyone else. All in all, this phase can be done in a single scene if you have most of your librarians alive, and you should be able to do it in 2 or 3 scenes. Beyond that, the burn might become too much and you'll start losing your librarians. Overall, this fight is a soft DPS check, but as long as you can output enough damage, you shouldn't have too many issues. After defeating Philip, you'll get access to his key and exclusive page. He has 102 HP, 52 stagger, is slash injured, and has 6 passives. Speed 3, Nuovo Fabric, Flying Brand, Plume Discussion, Volatile Passion, and Overheat, which gives offensive dice 1 power when the user has burn. Overheat doesn't matter too much, as the only way you're getting burn is with 2-1, his exclusive page, or if an enemy inflicts burn, and it also takes one of your passive slots, so you only have access to 3 attributed passives, but the rest of the page is pretty good. His exclusive page, Rekindled Strike, is also pretty solid. It's a 3-cost rolling 11 to 22 pierce, 4 to 5 block. Additionally, the pierce inflicts 6 burn on hit, and on use, it lowers the cost of a random copy of Blazing Strike in the user's deck by 1, and inflicts 2 burn to self. While I'm not sure whether I'd want to run Blazing Strike, Rekindled Strike is probably one of the better versions of strong offensive, weak defensive 3 costs, as it has a bunch of utility for fill-up. If I were going to build him, I'd go with a burn singleton deck featuring Shuwen. For passives, I'd put on a 4-cost power booster like Fervor, a 5-cost power booster like Solidarity or Eye of Death Enervation, and either Hugging Fire sitting on Brushwood or Furious Fire running the Skies. In the next video, we'll be taking on the next Ensemble member, Ailith. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.